Sure. We're going to go ahead and run this one back just a second as Travi goes ahead and tries to get his audio situation. There you go, Travi. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Do it again. Keep it wiggling. Keep it jiggling.
How about now?
My microphone. Don't jiggle. There we're working.
Oh my God.
There it is.
All right. Anyways, I was trying to say, I don't know when it cut out, but we were shouting out some of the people
Never
that
turned
on social media. So we got to say what's up to Chevin Noon, Kyle, Graham Barfield, Rishi Marahaj, Victoria, Benjamin Schwab, and Anthony Manira.
Yes,
and if you love fantasy football and you want to join a community where you know you belong and hopefully where the audio works, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We're trying to get one more subscriber on this stream. Just one more. Could be you. If you're new, let us know where you're streaming from. We'd love to shout you out. But on today's show, we're joined by a very special guest, Kyle Dvorchak from NBC Sports Edge. Kyle, how the hell are you, man?
I'm doing all right. We were talking about filling our best ball draft and stuff, and I just earlier today was doing like a live best ball draft, and I told them I need to be able to expense these. I can't focus on doing a best ball draft and producing good content at the same time. Yeah. And since it's my job to produce good content, I'm like, well, not all 150 shots into the Best Ball Mania are going to be great. And luckily, I actually think it turned out well.
But they're all expensed.
Yeah, there you go. NBC. Hey, the Peacock can fund it. Come on. Get the big brand behind it. We got it. That's awesome. We're love to have you. You guys can find Kyle at Kyle Tweets here on Twitter. He's working on some great stuff. I know you've been covering the USFL. I know you got some other things coming down the pipeline as well. And obviously we had to get you on here because we know you're a big best ball head as well. But first, we're filling up this draft right now, and I'm going to drop this link in the chat. But Austin, we've got some questions for Kyle. Let Whisper Nation get to know him a little bit here.
Yeah, we do. So we'll just jump straight into this lightning round, Kyle. Do you root for your NFL team or your fantasy team more?
Yeah, I haven't rooted for an NFL team in like 6 or 7 years. I feel like, it's my job to cover it. I just kind of like had the joy of rooting for a team brutally beaten out of me. I grew up a Steelers fan because my parents were both big Yinzers. So I had it gave me a good childhood, and I was okay leaving it at that. I don't need to root for some team when I'm as old as I am. It was great for my childhood. I got 2 Super Bowls as a kid. And at this point, I just root for my fantasy teams.
Well, that's certainly a good thing to build from. And so you mentioned it's been some time. Exactly what year did you start playing fantasy football?
Oh boy, I'm 2 years out of college. 4 years before that was college. 4 years before that was high school. And I think I was 12 years ago. I'm gonna guess about 12 years ago. It was like when I was in 5th or 6th. Or 5th grade, something like that. So it's about 12 to 13 years ago. That would be 2009. Sounds about right.
2009. Good year. Favorite fantasy football player all time?
I don't have good players, but man, I love Zach Zenner. I thought he was gonna I understand that whatever on UDFAs, he has like a 99th percentile career for a UDFA, which is like hanging out in the league for 5 years and he started 5 or 8 games or whatever. But I still have teams, and up until is my profile? No, my profile doesn't have him in it anymore. But I still had him as like the background of my Twitter profile.
Zach Zenner digging in. Ago. I love that. That's how about on the opposite side of the spectrum? Least favorite fantasy football player all time?
I want to say least favorite. I don't have a least favorite, but most disappointing was like Corey Coleman. I thought he was going to be so good. He started his career with the Browns, which is like, especially the Browns circa 2000, what he's probably drafting like 16 or something, 15, is just a hellish place to start your career. A truly awful time to start your career. And then he got hurt a bunch, but also he's probably not that good, which is
Didn't he go to the Giants too? I remember him like being like, a guy we kept hoping would be good because he played for the Browns initially. So we're like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, he escapes the Browns and he'll figure it out because
that's what you'll do.
Yes, he did go to the Giants, but he tore his ACL really quickly after landing there. He's on the Chiefs roster now, I think, though. Like, he's not going to make the final roster. I mean, he was on the Chiefs roster as of like a month or two ago. He signed like a reserve futures contract or whatever. I don't know if he's actually on this roster anymore, but yeah, I'd say I don't dislike him. It's like, oh man, I was really confident he was going to be good.
Been there. Favorite fantasy football team name?
I don't have creative team names, so I just pulled up a few of my leagues and just discovered a new brand of meme called Drip Titan. It's just like one of the giants from a show called Attack of the Titans, and he just dripped out in Supreme and Bape gear.
Okay,
and I just like this meme now.
I love the theories around different fantasy team names. I was such a big let's get it clever, let's do it. The last couple of years, my team name has just been Austin's team. That's what it's
100%. I used to be the same way. I was like, oh, I'm going to come up with some hilarious pun, and everyone's going to love it. No.
Well, what you find is even if you do that, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. So then it's you might as well just Yahoo's the best because they'd be like Travis's terrific team, and you're like,
I love the default ones on this. Maybe if I make a clever enough team name, my dad will finally love me. You'll see. What is a sound or a noise that you love, Kyle?
Oh, a sound or a noise that I love. I mean, what's the metal drum? It's literally the
steel drum.
Steel drum, yeah, steel drum.
Yeah.
Trying to think of something that really does it for me, and that frankly does.
Yeah, there it is. We don't need to go further.
I assume the beginning of Under the Sea is a steel drum. And the beginning, I would assume so.
I'm already feeling breezy now.
It's
changed
smooth.
me just meditating on that for a moment. What about your favorite swear word, Kyle?
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like shit. I feel like I have a lot of utility from that one.
Shit, dude. I like to hear that one.
Yeah,
me too.
And fuck all the time. So.
Yeah,
growing up, I grew up really not super hardcore Catholic, but went to church every Sunday. It's goddamn, specifically goddamn was a spicy one. I didn't say that for the longest time, and I was like, oh, god damn.
The forbidden
feeling.
The forbidden fruit is tasty, right?
Yeah.
It is. It is. I don't know. It is what it is. Hey, you made us, God. We're just following the recipe here. What are the most leagues that you've played in at one time, Kyle?
I won't count Bestball because you can throw 150 Bestball out there. I've probably been up to 20 before. I was 3 years ago, and I don't like playing that many leagues. This is way too many, and then I feel bad because I don't participate in a lot of them. I just straight. I'm I went 0-4 to start. Sorry, this in terms of my time management. I'll try and set my lineup, but I forget. And you plan so many sites. I think it's easy to manage 20 flea flicker teams or whatever. That's really not that hard. You click through them all. You just actually open all the different tabs. Your computer starts spinning up like a jet engine, but it's fine. She's fine. She's doing fine. She's trucking. And then you go through them all real quick. But then playing on 8 different sites is so much worse than playing no matter the number of leagues. Doing the different sites is worse.
Oh, why are we in that ESPN league? I forgot about that one. Right. Yeah. What is the most exciting fantasy football moment of yours?
I feel had a few good. I guess I don't have a ton of big football deal. Actually, the first time I won over two, I won $2,000 in 2019, maybe. I don't know. It was 4 years ago, 2018 or 2019. It was the first time I'd ever won more than $100 in DFS.
That's awesome.
That one will always stick out. I have bigger wins in other sports, but the first big one was in football.
What was the buy-in for that $2,000 win?
Probably $1 or $3.
Nice. Yeah, that's getting me excited. I'm just hearing about it secondhand here. Favorite game day beverage?
I work on Sunday, so I just drink a ton of coffee. What's the coffee diet that Dan Campbell drinks? It's a 40 ounce of coffee and 4 shots of espresso. I think is something along those lines.
A double red eye or whatever they're called.
Yeah. I do that because I get up really early on Sundays to work.
You're not the first one that we've gotten coffee from. I appreciate coffee and water are good go-tos on those days for sure. Boneless or bone-in wings?
I mean, I would do bone in, but I don't eat meat, so it wouldn't matter. It's not an applicable question. But the one thing I do miss about meat and eat is the sort of like nitty gritty process of eating something with your hands that kind of, like bone in wings or ribs or something. Yeah. So I do miss like the tactile part of eating.
Any meat alternatives then coming from a vegetarian palate on this one? Like any of the, what is the dragon fruit or the other pieces they use?
I've had restaurants do really good fried cauliflower. It's another thing, like when you don't eat meat, you just don't get good fried food because people think of like meats as like, like a good fried chicken, right? So anywhere you can find good fried food that's just like garbage for you, crunchy on the outside, crispy, and you get that with like just fried cauliflower a lot. So
there we go. Love that. Kickoff is in 2 minutes. You're still deciding your flex. Do you go with your gut or your weekly rankings?
Oh, I'd go with my rankings. That'd be like disgusting if I didn't. I feel so gross if I didn't.
It'd be false advertising, right?
Yeah.
What is your favorite position to draft from in 2022?
I was talking about this with Pat Corrane earlier. It's probably the 105 because I think there's like very clearly 3 best receivers, 2 best running backs, and then a break from that. So like the farthest back you can push tier 1, which is 5 to me.
I hear that. All right. Well, Whisper Nation, you now know Kyle a little bit better. We've got 2 spots left in our best ball draft. As soon as those last 2 spots are filled up, the draft is automatically going to begin. And keep in mind, this is a real best ball draft. $3 to enter over on Underdog. If you haven't yet joined Underdog, really do yourself a favor and sign on up. You can use the promo code TFW for up to $100 in matched money. We're going to be getting into this tournament as soon as we get those 2 spots filled. Travis got the link in the comment section as well as over on Twitter, right, Travis? And Discord.
Tweeted it out. If Kyle wants to tweet it out, maybe he's got some peeps that can get in here with. Awesome.
Nice. So we'll get that one going here in just a second because Whisper Nation, as you know, as soon as the room gets full, we're going to get a 60-second countdown, and then we are best balling. So until we get those last 2, we're going to go ahead and run through some of the news and notes from around the league, which I know, Kyle, you do have a hand in putting some of these blurbs together. Is that correct?
That is correct. When the last time I was on duty? Tuesday night, so there's probably not anything that I've actually written in here because there are so many blurbs. But yeah. I mean,
did you want to speak a little to that process? I don't know if they'll let you go behind the curtain.
Fascinated.
It's not like there's no
Wizard of
sauce,
Oz.
no 23 flavors in this Dr. Pepper or whatever. No, I mean, really, the biggest things are like you just. Training makes it sound like I'm an athlete. I'm not. You just like practice without posting anything for like weeks or months. Because like you really do kind of stress on being like perfect grammatically and for like official transactions, like every single word is like very specific and intentional. So to mess one of those up even like once and you fix it real quick, I do feel like an idiot when I do that. It happens, obviously. So I do like I probably trained for like almost a full NFL season. I was working a full-time job, like a boring normie job. So I was like not doing it 40 hours a week, but like twice a week, I would just get on with someone, write the blurbs and be like, that looks good. And then they would post their own blurb.
Oh, like, so they would like take yours as inspiration or be like, oh, nice try on this one. But
basically nice try. And like, they would do it. They're also fast. It's another thing. It's like you try and be super, super fast, just try and get it out as fast as possible while also making 0 mistakes. So I'm like typing slowly, like trying to get it all right. Yeah. And Pat Daugherty, who's done it, I don't know, like 15 years. I don't know. His father, he's done it for a long time. He can just snap them out with his mind, just not even look at the keyboard.
I've got this is a personal, like I'm on fire right now, Kyle, if I'm being totally honest with this, because I've been consuming your blurbs, NBC Sports Edge, Roto World's blurbs, my entire fantasy football career, which is over a decade long at this point. And while we have our other go-to sources, this is where you look and you see the little, new news by your player. And it's so oftentimes being pulled from your sources here. And as soon as one of those blurbs gets hit, we screenshot that blurb, we throw it out into our league chat. Everybody starts gassing up a player, burning down another guy. Everyone's trying to drive the stock up on a guy, drive the stock down on another one. Here's my first question on this. Have you ever delayed sending out a blurb so that you could hit the waiver wire first?
I don't think so. But only because like, I don't know how long the delay is. It's probably 30 seconds to a minute, but like I know when the blurb goes up, I could just do it afterwards, right? Like
okay.
Even literally the time it takes like information to travel at like the speed of light to go to whatever server it goes to for Twitter and then to your phone would be enough time for me to like log on and do it real quick if I wanted to.
Right. And do you have a favorite type of blurb to send out? Like, is it a training camp, good story, or a riser, or like, oh, this guy got hurt? What is it? The clear? Is it the ambiguous? Do you have a favorite type of blurb, or for you, it's just like, we got to communicate the news. Let's go.
I don't have a specific favorite kind, but anytime you can get a good sassy headline, there's an all-time headline.
Please tell me.
I will pull it up word for it. I think RotoPat wrote it. I will pull it up real quick. But like earlier this year, we had Trey Lance's finger is in the best shape of its life because apparently his finger was getting better. But like that kind of anytime you get a sassy headline.
Oh my God.
I know how to find this blurb headline on Twitter because it contains the word ghastly, and it's the only time we'd ever used that. So here, it was when Mason Rudolph got clocked by Myles Garrett. The headline is Ghastly Rudolph tosses 4 interceptions, gets assaulted. I retweet it like once every year. I'll retweet it right now. The process of typing in space gets assaulted. Yeah, that sums up the day. That's what happened. He tossed a bunch of interceptions and then he got assaulted.
Assaulted.
The sort of succinctness with which gets assaulted gets tacked on there.
This is a story. What a day. Oh my God. We love those little sassy bits too. The one that comes to mind that we still reference is Carson Wentz from last year. It was like Carson Wentz, ankles, both of them.
I might have done that one.
Really?
Yeah.
I know I was around during the time. I was blurbing a bunch of the Carson Wentz injuries. I think so.
Oh my God. And then the last one that came out, I think it was Greg Olsen. It might have been another player, but he was pretty banged up. It might have also been the former Dallas Cowboys tight end, the legend who was Jason Witten. Thank you. And it was like Jason Witten, parentheses, everything is still banged up and looking to recover. And I was like, oh my God.
I think I did a Baker. I actually didn't know about that one because it's a bit before my time. I did Baker Mayfield, parentheses, everything. At one point. Apparently we did a lot of Carson Wentz ankles because I see it 4 different times. So I think I did one of them. I don't know if I originated that.
Dude, that is so freaking funny. Well, I got some more questions that I do want to get to you here, but we're going to bring up the news because we did have some relevant points that just came up and we wanted to get your take on this, Kyle. The Athletics' Greg Auman wouldn't be surprised if Chris Godwin knee opens the season on the reserve PUP list. We know he tore that ACL back in week 15. How is this affecting you picking up Chris Godwin or say Russell Gage? And also if this touches other Bucs players, how are you evaluating this right now, Kyle?
Yeah, I looked at Godwin's ADP earlier because I saw this. I didn't write this one. I just saw it and I was like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's quite being priced in, though. I will say they changed the PUP list rules where you're only out 4 weeks now. I was like, no, I couldn't find this. Not that I couldn't find it reported anywhere. It came in this, like, Rappaport tweeted 4 giant blocks of text in memos from the league. And it buried in there somewhere. It's like, there's 2 less weeks on the PUP list, which is like actually important.
Right.
And no one brings it up because it's the Keanu Reeves text meme where he's like, that's great for you. Or I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not reading that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I do think I can tell you, I haven't found myself drafting much Chris Godwin, and without Gronk, like I probably should get more Russell Gage. For me, it's ended up being mostly Mike Evans because like I'm pretty damn sure Mike Evans is good. Whereas like Russell Gage was good last year, but he hadn't really he's just been a guy, just like a true jag his whole career, which is not the longest career. But I do think I need to like adjust my prior on that a little bit and get me some more Gage.
Feel you on that one. I'm hoping. I've got my fingers crossed. I picked him up in our rookie draft in Dynasty 2 or 3 years ago on the later rounds down, and I've just been holding on to that one. It's coming in. We'll see. Robert Woods
got 2 things now, right? With Gronk retiring. So you have like Gronk maybe hopefully retiring if you're Gage, and then also the Godwin thing going on too.
Yeah, how do you buy in? Are you buying the Gronk retirement news, or do you think he comes back later in the season after training camp and whatnot has passed?
So hard. I think he's retired, but he's literally like, I think it was on podcasts or interviews, has said like, yep, I don't like hanging out at training camp. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I want to live my summers. And that's very possible. That's what he's doing right now. I still
it doesn't make any. it doesn't make any sense to me for him to honestly come back right now, because it's like you can avoid all the stuff you don't like. You can also evaluate how the team starts out. And if this team is cooking and you can jump in and join a team that has momentum, probably coming into the playoffs, awesome. And if things go a little bit further south and they're going to be really relying on you and this team looks like it's not going to have as much fun as it had in the years past, maybe you just stay retired. Like, why wouldn't you take that path?
Yeah, and he's even said he doesn't often know the playbook. He literally just has Brady tell him what to do. Brady tell him what to run routes.
Of course,
on the field.
Dude. Of course he does that.
The backyard football, like, all right, we're gonna do this, do the 5, and then this, and then that.
I'm wondering if he just didn't want to get asked anymore if he was coming back, and so he's like, I'll just say I'm retiring, and that way later you guys will know then.
Yeah,
quit asking me.
I still think I'm more 50, like I'm 55-45 or maybe 60-40 that he's retired. But that's not a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, any other player that retires, you're like 99-1, and this
sure.
is so much closer.
This one really is closer, and we're closer to getting our best ball draft going. Whisper Nation, we got one more spot open in our 12-team best ball draft. You get a chance to do this alongside Kyle. Works for NBC Sports Edge. This is going to be a fun one. We'll be getting started with that once we get that last person joining. Link is in the comments. Oh, moving back here to Robert Woods, who the Athletics Joe Rex Road writes that Robert Woods should be the Titans' #1 option in Week 1 if he's healthy. A little more, he and Ryan Tannehill have already been building chemistry, and it would take a setback for Woods to be anything but a full go by Week 1. How are you evaluating the pass catchers in Tennessee, along with Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, popular name, and Austin Hooper's also popped up for a little bit of consideration? What are you looking at when you see Tennessee right now, Kyle?
Yeah, I feel like if they open the season with Robert Woods as their #1 receiver by like targets per game, that's pretty bad for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like Robert Woods is perfectly fine, but like he probably shouldn't be a team's #1 receiver, especially he doesn't really match with like what Tannehill does well, which is let Derrick Henry bring a safety into the box and then just absolutely heave it to AJ Brown. Like that is the fun part of the offense, and it's what they do well. That's not what Robert Woods does. So if like Robert Woods is getting like 10 targets a game to start the season, the offense is probably just bad. And like, that looks very possible. Like Treylon Burks is, man, we gotta get him in shape. Someone get out there and get him a better trainer.
Yeah, oh, right. Someone in Tennessee can make that one happen. Another rookie here, Breece Hall. The Athletics' Connor Hughes writes, Breece Hall is now the Batman to Michael Carter's Robin. The Jets will use both, but Hall is the lead back. How much are you buying into Breece Hall and any of the other New York Jets players this season, Kyle?
Yeah, I found myself getting a lot of Jets because they're cheap and dumb talented. I mean, in theory, right? We don't know if they are for sure, but in their prospect profiles, they were all very talented. So I find myself getting them a lot. I also play a lot of the best ball tournaments. I mean, it's really like this will be the first time in like a year or two I've played an individual best ball league, like, you know, back to the MFL 10 days. So and I also like I get very much of any of these like 4th, 5th round picks who are like erased within a year vibes from Michael Carter, which is a shame because I think he's good. But like, who was the running back for Todd Gurley? I can't remember his name.
Gerald Richardson, was that his name, or the guy that was not very good? Oh, you mean the good one, Steven Jackson?
No,
Steven Jackson.
It was the guy who got basically like cut out from the lineup. I'll pull it up real quick. After having a good year and just completely disappeared. I think he went on to like commit crimes or something. But
he went on to commit crimes or something. Oh, well, he's pulling that one up. We are very excited, Whisper Nation. We got a full room here, and I'm the first one on the clock in this best ball tournament, so I'm going to divert my attention away from hosting the show.
Kyle, do you think there's any debate between Jonathan Taylor and CMC at the top here? And I guess in best ball, like you're pissing yellow a lot and taking wide receiver, but what's your general 1-1 kind of dynamic?
I don't think there's a strong. I mean, I think it's Taylor in any individual one time, but if you have 150 lineups and what is 12 over 150 is like 15. No, I don't know. It's either north or south of 15. I would split them like 70, 20, 10 between Taylor, McCaffrey, and then Cup. So I don't think it happens that players outscore Taylor in the long run, but you only get to those players if you're doing a ton of drafts. So someone in chat said Isaiah Pede. That is not who I was thinking of, though that is very good. Trey Mason was what I was thinking of. Trey Mason had a great rookie year. Then they're like, we're just going to draft Todd Gurley anyways. See you later, Trey Mason. And they never heard from him again. And this stuff happens all the time. And the reason I can't remember their names is because they get erased from history because they are 4th round picks. And I think Carter was a 4th round pick. So that is, he kind of gives me those vibes.
I'm a bit bullish at the top of the draft. Can I get your take, Kyle, on Cooper Kupp? Do you think, I know we all love Cooper Kupp. I think I'm in the minority here when I'm expecting Cooper Kupp to do just as well as he did last year. And I'm not surprised if he did better than he did last year, given I don't think any of the defenses are going to be focusing on him this year more than they were the second half of last season. And he continued to do what he did. And now they have another year of rapport. Stafford and Kupp do together. I think the rest of the offense is primed to even be able to pick up some more first downs. And I'm not concerned about regression from either of those pieces. Am I missing something here? Or what do you think about Cooper Kupp right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw him. Yeah, I have him as my first receiver. I don't think there's a big difference between him and Chase and Jefferson because we do have a pretty large sample of Cooper Kupp not being this player that he was last year. Sure. And that's the only reason I have for saying like he's in the conversation with Chase and Jefferson. I still think he's number 1 receiver, but like it is. I mean, it's like the weirdest breakout we've ever seen because it was like I get that he got Stafford, but he also had incredible target shares and air yard shares, which is something he hadn't done. Right, he'd been a pretty 1A 1B guy, so like. It wouldn't shock me if like Allen Robinson gets the same type of quarterback upgrade and it turns out Allen Robinson is still a stud and he can still take a lot of targets away. And we see Cooper Kupp finish as the wide receiver 3 or 4, but like he's still the wide receiver 1 for me.
Feel that one on this. Can I get your take here on, well, we're getting this one started. Bestball has kind of entered the fantasy football world in a more intense way the last couple of years. And we've seen more folks invest in strategies, harder takes on real ways to play this game. It almost seemed like it was just a parlor game almost in the beginning. And now with the added money, the added focus, people are really leaning into this in a special type of way. And I know that you've been doing a ton of best ball work. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of best ball, where you see it in the industry today and how you see it a part of the industry moving forward?
Yeah, so it's super interesting. I think it was MFL 10s, right? And draft too. It was mostly MFL 10s. Like I was playing MFL 10s like 6 or so years ago, probably, and I'm sure they're around before that. But it was like cash games essentially. I mean, they actually had a few that were just straight up double ups. You finished in the top half of your league and you 1.8'd your money or whatever, minus the rake. And there is zero content for that anymore, which I think, I mean, I'm living proof of this. I have not done a non-tournament best ball draft in about 3 years. Cause I think we got Underdog, I guess 2 off seasons ago. Right. And that was, it was probably the last time I ever did the season before that would have been the last time I ever did I think of them as cash games. They're actually like tiny tournaments. You're trying to finish first to 12. Yeah. But compared to the big tournaments, they do have a cash game feel. You're not really focused as much on correlation, especially none of like the week 17 stuff. So I wonder, I mean, I don't know because I haven't been in the streets for the non-tournament best balls. If there's like a pretty best balls. I wonder if there's a pretty significant edge to just grinding out like a
bunch of these.
A ton of these. You would never obviously make more than like 7 extra money or whatever the first place payout is, but like you could probably churn a really good ROI on these. You are kind of locking up your money for a while. I have someone starred, so we're good if I run over. I wonder if there's like an edge to that because right now it is all the content is just focused on the tournaments, and I find that more interesting. I think it's a more dynamic game, but like I would understand someone being like, "Yep, I just grind out." Especially if you get to a site like DraftKings, where I'm sure the action is even better. I think they have like sit and goes they call them. You could probably get a really, really good ROI.
It's funny they call them sit and goes. That's what I was going to compare it to, like in the poker term, sit and go, because it does feel like that, like the tinier tournament. Man, I mean, best ball just is taking over. Last year we did it just basically on Sleeper for our listener league, and this year we're like, we have to jump in here. Obviously, got partnered up with Underdog. If you're watching, promo code TFW gets you up to $100 in matched money. But yeah, I've been loving it. I just think it's just obviously you get the joy of the draft, and then we get to look back. I love how they, Underdog gives you that, your exposure rate. Everything is all nice and neat for you, so you know what you're doing there. Yeah, it's just been a blast. What kind of got you into, like, were you into gambling or fantasy football first? Probably fantasy football, right?
Yeah. I was would have been 12 years old.
So. you're just out there with a bookie at 12 in the back of the church.
Yo, to give me the under on them Steelers.
I know. I'm trying to think the first time I ever think into gambling, I'll loop DFS into this because this is what it was. I was just starting to write, but I was only doing like dynasty content, just I think the first article I ever wrote was about Sammy Watkins, and someone reached out to me and they're like, I see you're writing solid. Can you write for us about, have you ever played DFS? And I don't think I had ever played DFS. And I was like, DFS, I play it all the time. Of course I can write for you about this. Cause I was just trying to hustle and get people to let me write for them. So I was like, yeah. And then that's how I was I guess I have to start playing now.
That's how it was. So it was reverse done on this side. Kyle, I freaking love that. It reminds me of my great uncle Larry. He told me a message right after I graduated college. And he said, if any employer asks you if you can do something, you tell them yes, because you now know how to learn. You know how to learn. So you'll learn it, but give them the answer they're looking for to get you in the door. And when you're like, yeah, I'm DFS, yeah, I'm a pro now. And now look at you now. You are. That's amazing. So moving into this, Travis, I wanted to get your take. You went a couple of running backs heavy to start it out. You feeling good about that?
Yeah, there were a few that I wanted, and since if Javonte Williams can be my third running back, I'm feeling really good about that. Now I feel like we're in the pocket of wide receivers that I really like. I mean, I feel like maybe Kyle can attest to this, but it feels like on Underdog wide receivers are getting pushed up a little bit more than in your managed league. Yeah. But I would say that in this pocket, there's still a ton of wide receivers that we probably like that have huge upside. So I've been seeing a lot of robust RB Underdog squads come out. Like Dave Kluge, shout out to him, follow him on Twitter as well, has been posting a lot of RB robust. I just wanted to try it out here. I mean, it's $3, so I'll never see it again. Might as well mess around here.
Kyle, do you have a general philosophy or a team build that you strive for in these best ball tournaments?
Yeah, I think I don't even know if it's a specific build, but I do think there's still a lot of edge to be exploited and just being really unique. I think it was 2 years ago, there's some really strong teams that were just 3 running backs, and it was 3 elite running backs, and that's it. And I think there are maybe some arguments, I don't know if they're strong, about taking 2 of the top 4 tight ends or something like that, or double elite quarterbacks, especially in these kinds of, actually in this draft, I feel like double elite quarterback would be ideal, because you are so many of the 30-point games from quarterbacks just come from the best players. It's not like wide receiver where KJ Hamler's probably going to have 3 100-yard games or whatever this year. Tim Patrick literally has 100-yard games all the time and costs nothing. You never know when they're coming, but in this, it doesn't matter. Danny Amendola has so many career 100-yard games for a player of his ilk, as I'll call it, where you just don't really get that from quarterback, especially now when people are more keen on running quarterbacks. So if it were just the sit and go style in this, I actually do think I'd really be more interested in doubling up on especially the quarterback.
That's a really interesting one. You mentioned tight ends a little bit for that consideration as well.
Yeah, a little bit. And tight ends at least a little more different in the tournaments as well, because you can flex your tight end unless you're playing the super flex on DraftKings. On Underdog, you literally can't do that. So I think in the it kind of flips where it's not as advantageous in the sit and goes, I'll call them, to do the 2 elite tight ends, where it's maybe a little more, or at least it comes closer. I don't know which one would be better in, but at least comes closer in the tournaments because you can flex your tight end.
Austin, and then maybe Kyle to follow up after. Austin, you drafted AJ Brown, and I just want to know your feeling about what Philly offense we're going to see with the AJ Brown addition.
I think we're going to see an explosive, albeit inconsistent offense. And I mean inconsistent in terms of who's delivering the points. I think we've got a lot of hopes and a lot of potential coming out of a lot of these different playmakers. Jalen Hurts can do tremendous things with his legs and with his arms. I think Nick Sirianni is going to have a better game plan established for Philadelphia coming in, but it can go a lot of different directions. I think AJ Brown opens up the door, but this team Jalen Hurts had 16 passing touchdowns last year. I just don't know how much he's going to totally bring in. But that's okay because I think they're good. I think they got a ton of talent, and I think AJ Brown is going to, at a minimum, have some amazing games if it's not an entire season. And I think that's kind of worst case scenario. I'd put that tag on for Miles Sanders, for Jalen Hurts, for a lot of these players as well. I'm optimistic about the Eagles, but I'm also
cautious.
Yeah.
Kyle, when you look at that, like, people don't want to really talk about Jalen Hurts improving as a passer because I think that would screw up their priors that he's not a good quarterback or something. But I wanted to ask you, because he has kind of quietly, gotten better. And then it's like, could he take another jump here? Do we believe he could be a good QB?
Yeah, I mean, he was a really good QB in college, passer, not he ran a lot and it was cool and fun. He was legitimately a very accurate, as charted by PFF grade. I don't know if chat's messing with us. I see a Kamara suspension in chat. I will absolutely mauled if we get that.
Whoa!
Right now.
No, I think Johnny. Oh wait, just came out. Oh, that's our partner. Let's see. We'll see. If
Johnny gets excited.
It's legit. It's legit.
It dropped 6-game suspension.
Wow. Is that happening?
I mean, if it's from PFT, it's at least a legit source. It might not be the most accurate. PFT is
Johnny's
saying, pretty plugged in.
Start this over because he got Kamara here.
Oh, sick! That's one team eliminated. Now we're playing 11 out of 12. I love it.
Oh man, Kyle, you're on the clock, brother.
Yeah.
So big news right here. Another set of breaking news, Travi, where it happens while we are recording.
Yeah,
Alvin
that's right.
Kamara, 6-game suspension. What does this do for the other pieces in New Orleans right now? Is Mark Ingram a piece? Is he a player that you want to have on your roster to start it off, or is there another player that you've got in mind?
There's a couple things. I don't know if you're answering me. I'm going to jump in here. There's a couple things. Dearness Johnson being a trade candidate. I thought Kareem Hunt was going to be a trade candidate before that. So maybe one of those two going to New Orleans to be lookout. But I think Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave get a big bump here. These guys that can probably soak up intermediate stuff. But I think that's, we'll see what happens with Michael Thomas. But yeah, that's a big blow to their offense. This is interesting to me. I'd like to ask Kyle, because I thought we were hearing a lot that it might get pushed to next year. This suspension based on some of the legal stuff that hasn't.
Yeah, the quote was he's bracing for it. It's not this isn't official yet. But if PFT is saying he's bracing for it, I mean, maybe there's a plus or minus 2 game to it that you have to take this with a grain of salt. But I mean, he's facing I'm looking at the NBC blurb, felony battery charge. So that suspension of 6 games kind of checks out for that. So this is, man, I was literally earlier today talking with Crane about this, and we were talking about how the Saints just insert any mediocre player into the Alvin Kamara plus role whenever Kamara is out. Latavius Murray and Mark Ingram are fine players. They're fine in the sense of they're average, but they treat them like they are Marshall Faulk whenever they're the starter. So, I mean, this will probably be different, right? Because every other time has been midseason. It's less easy. It's harder to insert, the guy you sign off of waivers or whatever into some version of the role. So you just do it with Latavius Murray or Mark Ingram because they know the system. They were there all summer. So I think they probably signed someone or trade for someone. Dearness Johnson was really good in his 3-star. Those are fun games. I lived near Cleveland for 3 years or so and grew up in Ohio, and just Browns fans they just love him. They understand that he's a 3rd string running back, and there's it just feels good. And I agree. He was just fun to watch. So it'd be cool to see him get a pretty big role, because we don't need that from Mark Ingram. I'm sure he's, like I said, he's fine, but Dearness Johnson might actually be good.
Yeah, give him an actual chance to spread them wings outside of the Cleveland airspace. That would be pretty cool. I'm down on that one as well. So Kyle, you're coming up on the clock here. I just wanted to know, what are you thinking right now? What's going through your head in the 6th round?
Someone got Kittle right before I did, and I wanted him. So thanks for that. But I guess we make that up by one team being eliminated, having Alvin Kamara. You can't get everything, but you also didn't get Alvin Kamara, which is nice. So, I talked about going quarterback heavy or the extra tight ends, and none of them really made it to me. And now, at this point, there's not a ton of super elite guys left. So I guess I'm just continuing stuck with these, receivers and running backs, which isn't a particularly bad thing. But let me just add someone in my queue before I get here we go. Let's see. I don't really want to take Chris Godwin or Mike. I don't want to take any of these players. I want to be done.
I was not going to.
I pass. Has there been an actual real life scenario where a team on the podium at the actual NFL draft, someone runs up and gets ahead of them? Because I think you're allowed to do that if they run the clock out.
Oh my God, is that the rule?
I don't know if it's a rule or just a bit people have talked about, but I feel like it might be.
That's what we in our league of record. If you use up the clock, we do a live draft. The guy who wins the draft wins the league in our league of record gets to pick where we all go to draft in person from over Labor Day weekend the following year. And we have had it where if you miss the 2 minutes and you fail to pick it, then the next guy just gets to pick ahead of you. And you just lose that spot there. If you shout him out, then it's on the board. But if you don't, the next guy gets ahead of you. But I am wondering now, what is the biblical rule in the NFL should your 10 minutes expire and you have not gotten that envelope or pressed that button or done what it's done? Like, I straight up really want to know. And now I need to make my pick so I don't take another Jerry Jeudy again. Oh, love that.
And the wide receivers got really ugly really fast. And I went three running backs, and then the 2 elite quarterbacks because, Kyle, you just got me excited on that. So I double tapped the rushing quarterbacks, but I left myself with Elijah Moore as my wide receiver 1. So,
So I looked it up, and this is from operations.nfl. It's like their actual operations page. If a team, it can make the selection later, but it runs the risk of letting the next team on the clock take the player it was considering. So they literally do you should hire a sprinter on the off chance that someone forgets to make their pick or doesn't show up so you can get up ahead of time. That is literally the NFL's rule, is if you time out, you can pick when you're ready, but someone can pick ahead of you.
Just free for all runs to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you would want, you'd hire Usain Bolt for one night for $10,000 and be like, I know we're probably not going to use you, but on the off chance the Bengals aren't prepared to make their pick, we want to get our bad boy in.
I want to see the team that is in that scenario but failed to hire a Usain Bolt for this moment. So
Dan
it's like,
here's the
envelope. Exactly. Here's the envelope. Dan, get him now. Just running out there, tripping, looking like Shaq on the TNT broadcast out there. Like, that would be my favorite moment of the year, even if I won a championship. So I selfishly hope we see a team stumble into that. Maybe it'll be Cleveland, who Kyle took their number 1 wide receiver, Amari Cooper. I just wanted to get your take, Kyle, on Amari Cooper. I've been gassing up Amari Cooper. I'm like, this guy is better than he gets credit for since he's come into the NFL, rookie season beyond. It's like all he does is get 1,000 yards plus in a season. Doesn't matter which team he's playing for. I know he's not amazing, but he's a pretty solid fantasy piece, NFL piece. And I don't see a ton of competition for him over there in Cleveland. And I don't really care who the quarterback is. Someone's got to throw the ball. And I don't know who they're going to be really throwing it to outside of Amari Cooper. Am I too high on Amari Cooper, or is everybody else a little too low?
Yeah, I don't see. It kind of made sense for me in the sit and go style, because I'm not sure I see Amari Cooper going out for the 1,600 yard season or whatever, and breaking records, which sounds stupid, but that is what we got from Cooper Kupp last year. Is he was this middle 4th, 5th round pick who turned out to be maybe the best receiver single season ever. Close up there. So I don't think that's really in the range of outcomes anymore. We have a large enough sample on Amari Cooper to know what he is. But you laid out the strong argument, which is why I took him. Is there's just very low target competition. If we got 17 games of Jacoby Brissett, I'd be a little more concerned, because Jacoby Brissett's not very good. Then there's also the report that they would want to trade for someone anyways, or they could bring Baker back. And I know Baker really wouldn't want to do that, but it might be in his financial best interest to do so. It's if you told me a mid-tier caliber, like a Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo, which the salaries would probably not work out, but that type of player, or half the season of Deshaun Watson and half of Jacoby Brissett, you're probably getting a lot of production out of that wide receiver 1. And I believe in at least the way Cleveland's passing game is schemed to be efficient. They won't throw it a ton unless maybe the adding of Deshaun Watson gears them that way. They probably still don't throw that much, but I think they'll be efficient. I think he has low target competition. That's kind of all you need to take him in what is this, the 6th round. So I think that's he's a good high-ish floor pick. Like you said, he's good. He has been good for a very long time. Just turns out 1,000-yard seasons. He's not great, but he's good. And we know for sure he's good.
Yeah, we do. And he's a little bit on the injury concern, but I also think he's a pretty tough dude. I've seen him come back early ahead of times, and in not a dumb way either. So I don't know. I'm holding
like a poor man's Julio, not saying like talent wise, but playing through the injury. You know, Julio would always just kind of like you'd like be on the injury report and then he'd play through it.
He played way more games than we thought he would. He's like, this dude's always hurt, but he plays 15 games a season.
Like you see some guys tear their hamstring or strain it and they're out for like multiple weeks. And then I remember Amari Cooper multiple times last year with the hamstring playing through it, catching touchdowns. So yeah, I think Cooper's good. And then really the lack of targets around him that are going to be reliable, even if it is Brissett. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but, just so much target availability there.
Kyle, we saw right after your Trey Lance pick, Dameon Harris go. And I just got to ask every person who's smarter than me about the New England backfield. And if you have a read or a favorite player to take in that backfield. We know about Dameon Harris. Ramondre Stevenson had a good rookie year. He's coming in. Then they went out and do what they did and picked up more running backs, Pierre Strong in the mix. How are you feeling about the New England backfield? Do you ever invest in it if the price is right? What's your evaluation here?
Yeah, I've been getting a decent amount of Ramondre in drafts just because I don't think like the delta between him and Dameon Harris is that great as like runners. Harris is probably better and we'll probably get more carries because of it. But like we could see a pretty strong receiving season from Ramondre, especially with like, I don't know to what ability James White is going to come back. When he first suffered the hip injury, it was like, we don't know if he'll come back in the mirror. Like, nope, this turns out to be a lot worse than we thought. And now I don't think he's still up to full speed yet. So I think there's at least a very good chance that we see a stronger receiving season from Ramondre, which is what he was really good at in college. So I've been getting more Ramondre than Dameon Harris. Though like Harris is like a fine pick, but I think they're probably closer. They should probably pinch closer in ADP than they are.
And then ESPN's beat writer for New England had left James White off his projected 53-man roster. So,
like, to so many point, running backs.
Yeah. They, but I think he's the guy that projects for that 3-down role, like you were saying. Plus, he looked good last year. Like he passed the eye test.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he looked good, and he had the metrics too to back that up as well.
See, how's your team looking? I'm happy with my team, especially it's strange not thinking about it in the sense of like, I got to find some week 17 teams to correlate. Like, I don't stack my quarterback. I'm going broke. Whereas this is, you should probably still be stacking your quarterback. You're trying to finish first of 12, which is not nothing, right? That's still a small tournament. But I don't feel nearly as bad not having a stacked quarterback right now as I would in regular like best ball mania. I'd be like, this is kind of a dusted team if I didn't.
Yeah. Well, you said a couple things that really got like kind of almost like washed over me as like a little bit of ease because we are newer to the best ball scene, but I'm hearing all the smart people that I follow, you included, that are like, week 17 correlation, week 17 bros as they're being called or whatever. Oh, yeah. Like it's happening. And so coming into this with you, I was like, well, I don't really have a ton of like faith in my ability to do it. Although I've heard good strategies, you draft someone, then you star the other players, to get that correlation. But when you said at the top, Kyle, it's like in these 12-person one, it doesn't really matter as much because we're doing the correlation to kind of be there at the end with 400 people at the end when you're in the main event. So I think it's been nice to be able to draft good players. What a concept, just like try and draft the best player available.
These ones don't, unless I forgot the rules, but they don't have any week 17. You just play, I assume you just play the whole thing out. 17 highest score wins. Either way, you are not, even if it wasn't, but you would not be trying to win on Underdog. Best Ball Mania is 470 teams in the final table, if you want to think of it in poker terms. And then DraftKings, the big $5 is just shy of 1,000. I think it's like 4 teams shy of 1,000, which is like an actual reasonably sized real DFS tournament. It's like you really do have to be thinking about like, how do I get first or last? Because like so much of the money is in first. It's insane.
The Ricky Bobby strategy, as we like to call it. Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And then the only thing I did different was because you said the dual quarterback thing. I got Lamar and Kyler, and I just feel like every week, they don't have the same buy every week in this sit and go. I should be, with one of the best quarterbacks, hopefully. And then they'll both get hurt and I won't have it. So we'll see.
We'll see about this one. You got any sleeper quarterbacks, Kyle, that you like later on down? I saw you pick up Trey Lance. I know we're in a best ball. Are you feeling confident Trey Lance does run the show in San Francisco, or is this an optimistic or your read on Trey Lance and the 49ers?
Yeah, I think we'll get close. I mean, you have to be pretty bad for us to not get the full 17 this year. Like coaches, I find this interesting. Coaches don't have to be honest, and oftentimes it would be to their advantage to be dishonest in the sense of like, you don't want teams knowing how much you do or don't like your quarterback. You'd want them to, you'd want them to think you like him a ton. You want them to think, we think Jimmy Garoppolo can win a Super Bowl. He got us there, and then they made the conference final or whatever. You'd want them to think you need 4 first-round picks to get him from us or whatever. But like immediately, Kyle Shanahan was like, yep, we're trying to, or maybe it was John Lynch, was like, yep, we're trying to find a trade partner. We're going to try and work something out to get rid of Jimmy. So like it's very obvious that they don't want, like in the sense of like they want to get value in return. They'd rather have the assets than Jimmy Garoppolo. So when a team is so incredibly forthcoming that they just say in pressers like, yep, trying to work on a trade, I would take them at their word.
I hear you on this one. And that reminds me of one of my favorite conversations I've been able to have in the fantasy football realm. And that was on our program we do every year, our event, the Mock Draft Marathon. This year we're doing it. We're going to have our hype video coming up on this after me and Travis get our turn going on this. But it is our annual event that we do. And last year we had Coach Hugh Jackson on the show, formerly of the Oakland Raiders and, of course, Cleveland Browns. Yes, sir.
God bless.
God bless. I know, right? And I got a chance to ask him a little exactly of what you were talking there on coach speak and exactly how much credit should we give what exactly is being said by that coach in that moment. And what he said was, it's never meant to be honest for honest sake. What they're saying might not be untrue, but they're not trying to give you a straight up answer just for your own listening pleasure. They have another motivation. It's either hyping a player up on their team. It's either putting some motivation for their player down the road. It's putting someone on notice. Maybe it's throwing the defense off. You want to say, oh, we're going with this guy. He's kicking ass this practice just to get their defensive game plan a little wobbly. And I just thought that was such a cool and honest line. It's like, yeah, recognize why they're saying it. They've got probably something else under the works and take it with a grain of salt. But no, there is actual movement happening there too. And with that one here, we're getting ready for our 4th annual mock draft marathon. We're going to be doing it next month. Come and check it out. Let's do it, Travis.
Mock Draft Marathon. What is this? It's consecutive mock drafts for a total of 24 hours. Requires hours and even years of preparation.
Which is a little bit controversial, but
Are you shitting me, Johnny?
I didn't plan that, I swear.
I can pretty much say 100%.
Something that you really love to do.
Let the games begin.
Somebody came in and stole Johnny and they're hijacking his draft.
Oh, he's going to blame it on his 78-year-old neighbor.
Damn it, you guys snuck in a super flex. I knew it.
Ball is going to taste different than this meatball.
That's not that bad from a flex.
Outliers decide fantasy champions.
Stand out above the crowd. About the same set of 200 players, and it never gets old. That's right, Whisper Nation. We got our 4th one coming up for you next month. Make sure that you are liked and subscribed to the Fantasy Whispers, especially over on our YouTube channel, because that's where we're going to have that 24 hours of action coming your way, where we bring in some incredible minds from the fantasy football world to give you their takes, their analysis, their overview. You know, Johnny, Travis, and myself are going to be there. You can't shake us. We just love to bring in other voices from this orbit to make sure you have a full picture on the ways to approach this game we all love so very much.
Yeah, I'm going to look at Kyle's team here. Let's see. I'm going to judge it. No, I'm just kidding.
Last year when we were doing, like mock draft on type of thing, I was in the draft and I don't know, it was like the 12th or 10th round. And I'm trying to produce content. Everyone is, so this is not an excuse. At least it's not a good excuse. And I'm looking at the draft board and I'm like, which one of these supposed experts auto drafted a defense in the 10th round? What an idiot. Speaking of which, when am I up? When am I up next?
Oh my God.
Me. Yeah.
Which would happen to all of us. Which defense was it? Yeah, good question.
I mean, it was a good defense, but it was like literally like 10th round defense.
That's actually a natural question. What is your take on drafting? And let's just take it out of best ball and we're going into redraft format. How do you approach kickers and defenses in redraft?
I get auto drafted the one in the last rounds each time almost. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like you could parse it out more and figure out like, oh, technically this defense is worth a little more than the last round pick. But to me, it's like not really worth your amount of time. You'd be like directionally accurate, right? You'd be close enough in the right direction if you never spent more than your final 2 picks on it. And if you can, don't even spend that. Don't draft, if your league allows it, some have constraints, don't draft defense or a kicker and just pick up like Mark Ingram would have been a perfect example, right? Now you're sitting on Mark Ingram like, he was probably going undrafted in like your smaller leagues. Actually, mostly he was pretty late in Bestball drafts. I gotta remember to start him. Don't you guys don't start him. I'm gonna start him, but you guys don't start him. But like pick up, it's really like contingent value running backs. But there are other fine examples too, like good camp battle guys.
Gerald, I think, is somebody like
100%. Yeah,
look at even especially with the Benjamin Steam lately. I think these guys, I feel what you're saying there. We've actually said it a lot, but I actually have drafted like the one ESPN league I'm in has that constraint. You have to draft a defensive kicker, which sucks.
I'm glad that we brought this one up because I did just want to take a moment. God damn it, Travis.
What?
Now my whole line of thinking is gone. I want to be Cole Hardman. He was literally the only guy left in my queue.
The only guy that I starred here at the wide receiver.
He was the only guy I had starred to it. I'm not shitting you. Fuck you, man. God, I love you. Okay.
I thought you were mad because I just picked while you were trying to make a point, and I didn't like take the whole 30 seconds.
No,
sorry, man.
I'm way about the draft.
A lot better that I just drafted a guy you wanted. So.
Yeah, kick rocks. Fuck, and now I got drafted with Jacoby Myers because I'm bitching and moaning about it. All right, I need to focus. Travis, the show's on you.
I think Jacoby Myers is a good pick here. I mean, it's not your Mecole Hardman. It doesn't have the upside. But volume-wise, I don't know. Maybe Kyle wants to add in anything. But I think Jacoby is probably their number one. He's been that the last, little bit here. And I think he's a guy that, is like – it's crazy to me that Patriots, nobody wants their offense. Like, nobody's drafting them right now, ADP-wise. Yeah, so –
they're really interesting week 17 stack too because they play Miami and it doesn't sound like the most appealing game, but like you can have like the entire Patriots passing attack for like a sack of Rusty Nichols because they're so cheap. I get like they're not going to be incredible, but like if you like someone in chat's like Devontae Parker's number one. If you think that, he's also very cheap. It's not an expensive bet to make if that's what you think. I would bet on Jacoby Myers because I do think he kind of profiles as like that perfect Mac Jones, Bill Belichick's offense, just like get open short, do something after the catch. Whereas like Parker needs the Ryan Fitzpatrick. At least he thrives with the Ryan Fitzpatrick hucking those fun, 50-50 balls. But Parker's still good. And I have no problem saying he could be their number one. But yeah, they are so cheap that like I don't think the Pats are an exciting or fun offense. I'm just waiting for them to be like, that game in the blistering wind that we ran 86 times and passed 3 times. Let's do that 17 times this year. Just waiting for that to happen. That's like entirely priced in already.
Right.
Go ahead. Awesome.
I wanted to ask him about another set of cheap wide receivers, but from a bit more of an exciting team, and that's the Chiefs. Travis, you took my pick there with Mecole Hardman, but it's been such a popular conversation topic in fantasy football, as I'm sure you know. And I wanted to get your take, Kyle, on those Kansas City Chiefs pass catchers. We know that Tyreek Hill is in Miami. We know Kelsey is just the tight end number one of this decade. And we expect for him to be another target monster for Patrick Mahomes, maybe even more so. But after Travis Kelsey, do you see one wide receiver really stepping up and getting the lion's share of those vacated targets, or is it more of a carousel between our Mecoles, our Juju Smith-Schusters, our Sky Moores, and our MBSs who kind of absorb that with some good weeks for one or the other here and there, but not as much consistently across the season? Or do you actually have a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, Sky Moore is my favorite, not because I think he is like this lock to lead the team in targets, but if one person takes on a singular massive role, it's almost certainly going to be him. Like Mecole has been a gadget, like a true like Tavon Austin gadget for 3 years. And I think he can be interesting in that role, but like he's like Isaiah McKenzie plus. And that's probably what he's going to be. Like even when they drafted him, everyone's like, yeah, because it was when we were potentially getting a lengthy Tyreek Hill suspension that never came. Everyone's like, I guess I can see why you reached for a guy as fast as Tyreek, but he wasn't good in the same ways as Tyreek were. And that has proven to be true so far. And that could change, but I don't think it's going to be him. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is the exact same thing, except he's not a gadget. He's just a really good deep threat. I think he's very good at that, even more so than like Mecole is good at his thing. But like I know we already got like a beat report that like they're moving MVS around the lineup. He's doing short stuff. He's doing deep stuff. He can play quarterback, guard, defensive tackle. But we got that last year. The exact same sentiments from Packers camp last year was that he's going to break out this year. And he was the most Marquez Valdes-Scantling he's ever been. Very much
right.
The fun, good, deep threat once every 8 weeks. So I don't think it's going to be him. I don't think it's going to be Mecole. And Juju's the same thing. He is like pure slot who hasn't been good since 2018. And God bless him, because I have so many dynasty bags of Juju that I'm just like, no, we're not getting rid of this guy. Remember 2018? But like, it has been so long since he was good. And the context of that offense was that he had maybe the second best receiver of all time. Antonio Brown was so good in the 2010s that like when you have that attention drawn from you, you pass the ball a ton and you have good Ben Roethlisberger, like, yeah, you're probably going to put up like 1,200 yards or whatever. So I don't see any of those three commanding a ton of targets. If Sky Moore lives up to the hype, which like, oh baby, I'm pumping that hype. He could be the one he's the only one who I think has like this 99th percentile outcome that is just monstrous.
Well, there you have it. Are you targeting him at his current ADP, or are you just hoping for the value on this? I guess my last question on this, are you going after him aggressively, or is this just a take that you'd have on him?
Yeah, I have a lot of Sky Moore. And mostly, I'm playing mostly in the DraftKings drafts because they're a lot softer. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a tough year if he like gets hurt. Look, it's going to be a lot of ramen in 2023 if he gets hurt.
Well, we hope that Sky Moore pops off, so you only have to have ramen when you absolutely want. Because I mean, it's very good.
Authentic ramen can get a little pricey.
That's true. Actually, good authentic ramen is very good.
It is really good on this one. Kyle, I did want to ask you a couple more questions here about with NBC Sports Edge. Everybody here in Whisper Nation, in our own league of record, we read your work on a daily basis. And if we don't have something to read from you guys, we start itching. Like, what is the update on these guys? Can we please just get a bullshit take? Can you say he did something cool at camp? Can you say
did he gain or lose?
Yes, right. How tall was he standing?
Ceedee Lamb grew. He supposedly grew a half inch this offseason. I get he's 22 or whatever, but like, I thought, what? Excuse me? Sorry, go with your point. It just really baffles my mind that they're saying he's just like physically growing taller.
Where does that come in from? Where do you pull in some where does NBC Sports and the blurbs, where do they get some of the material to pull us? And I know it's from The Athletic and the beat reporters, but is there a consolidated list of journalists that are at that level that you pull from, or is it kind of more on each individual contributor to find their own sources? How does that work? How do you pull it in?
I use a list from Adam Levitan. It's just a Twitter list that is really just like stock. Like it is oversaturated in that you see a lot of the same things. A lot of people I don't even know like football writers anymore. I don't know how like curated this list is, but for my job, it's much better to oversaturate yourself with the information and filter it than it would be to miss anything. Right. So yeah, I think if you just go to Levitan's Twitter, there's a way to find his list. I have a few other ones too, but that's kind of my default. That's like a very all-encompassing list. Other people have curated their own list too, but yeah, like it's just a good Twitter list. The only thing you miss is like there are some people who just like, especially on Sundays, is the worst, is that some of the like national TV people like Jake Glazer doesn't tweet anything. He just talks about it on TV like it's the 1990s. I'm not watching TV anymore. So like Glazer and a few others don't tweet their stuff that much, and you have to like, someone's like, did anyone see this thing on Glazer on Fox Bippity Boop? And I'm like trying to like find someone's handheld camera of it.
Oh my God. Jake Glazer 337 is going to be on the NFL Network. Tune in to make sure you don't miss it. It's like, I don't have a DVR. Oh my God.
Or like, like radio stuff. Like so-and-so's on 99.2 The Wildcat.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not tuning into your low Buffalo radio station to listen to someone.
Well, that's super fascinating, actually, Kyle, because like Adam Levitan, I love his content over at Establish the Run as well. I was actually listening to their Monday risers and fallers for ADP before the show here. And I just think that's actually such a cool little tidbit that you shared with us, Kyle, where you have this whole world kind of working together, of different contributors and analysts and folks in the fantasy football world touching with different reporters on the ground and then kind of hand selecting who they think is of value. And then, you, Kyle, are selecting Adam Levitan as somebody of value and then pulling from their lists and now here we are regurgitating to art. Like it's just what a cool ecosystem that it's all working together.
Yeah, he's talked about this before too. But like he said, his Twitter is so incredibly valuable, and he's talking about like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars it would take for him to sell his Twitter account and like just never use Twitter again. Because like it is like so valuable to just be able to like have a ton of information and parse it quickly. And so yeah, I have a few Twitter lists, but his is the one. It's called Football Only, and it is not football only by a long stretch anymore, at least. But yeah, just like being able to have this like just fire hydrant information blasted at your face is actually very valuable.
I like what you said there about like having like you'd rather have it oversaturated so you could parse it down, because that makes a lot of sense to me. It's like you would rather like instead of being like questioning like should I blurb this because like only one person's talking about it. So that makes sense. Is that kind of where you're coming from with that? Like, do you have to double check if it's just like a few sources?
Yeah, I know like all of not know personally, but like I know by name all of the athletic writers, like all of the ESPN regional, whatever, team specific writers, and so many other just like odd newspaper, all the team writers, like Jim Wyatt works for like Tennessee.com, which is always weird to cite like a guy who works for the Titans reporting on the Titans. Seems like it's conflict of interest, but he's a good reporter nonetheless. So like the list is good at curating reputable sources, and also I am good at within the minute details of parsing that. And yeah, also like, so I want to information blast into my face, getting everything I can. So much of it's like local sports stuff. And I'm like, this is your like high school basketball team's final score. I really wish that wasn't on this list, but I'd rather not miss any single thing. And then publishing is the same way. Like someone's like, Jeff Smith, the Jets 9th wide receiver, has just been a star at minicamp. And I was like, well, I'm not going to put it up on our Twitter account, but it'll be under Jeff Smith today. So guess I'll do that. And so, yeah, I'm trying to get as much information as possible. And I'm comfortable being a little more like publishing a little more useless information in the sense of like, I'm sure Jeff Smith's mother would like to know how he's doing. She can use our site. It's not fantasy relevant. I highly doubt it at least, but I'd rather have it than not.
That makes sense.
Kyle, up on the clock, we've got 3 picks left. How can you walk us a little bit through how your end of draft strategy kind of comes together? In redraft, we know you're really going for those dart throws. I know best ball, it's similar, but or like in redraft, you're also going for handcuffs is another approach that we see used a lot. In best ball end of the draft, kind of where we're at now, is there anything specific you're targeting, or you're still going for the best value available?
No, especially in the best ball tournaments, because like mostly what I'm playing is just like correlating all of my stuff. Someone took Daniel Jones relatively early in this draft, but that's me complaining that like I would have taken him only slightly less early. But like Wan'Dale Robinson is on the board right now. I have no interest in Wan'Dale Robinson. If I don't have Daniel Jones, when I have Daniel Jones, I'll probably reach a little bit on Wan'Dale Robinson. I have a lot of Daniel Jones, so that's one I know. But like if you're watching this, I have Kendrick Bourne queued up because I have Mac Jones. So I think like creating those final roster correlations, and like if Kendrick Bourne or Wan'Dale Robinson has a really good year and they crush their ADP, that probably means their quarterback did as well. For like a 4th wide receiver to have a very notable year, either that or everyone ahead of them got hurt, which is also certainly possible. But like creating those backdoor correlations is really what I'm focusing on in best ball tournaments. In this, it is much more the minutia of just filling out the roster. I still want correlations. Like I said, I'm trying to get first out of 12, which is not, it's not 50-50. We're not trying to get top 6 out of 12, but I'm not as desperate to do it. And I'm also stacking games too, like looking at the back end of, this is a terrible example. Well, I got Davis Mills in the 17th round, and I already have Brandon Cooks. I know they play the Jags. Let's get Laviska Shenault on this roster. Isaiah McKenzie's a much better one. If you have Bengals players, they face they face Buffalo in that Week 17 game, and if that game drops 65 points, good chance it's going to be a Hayden Hurst or an Isaiah McKenzie scoring a random touchdown.
I feel you on those pickups here. And I need to tap into your mind here just a little bit on any other late round sleepers. Not so much on the best ball focus. Yeah, as they do connect to best ball, but I know we've got a lot of stacks that we're trying to form in best ball, but then also outside. Are there any of these sleepers, late round sleepers specifically, that you, Kyle, are personally bigger on Then you see others like Kadarius Toney's a name that gets thrown out a lot. People are starting to rise up on Kadarius Toney. Alan Lazard is kind of outside of that camp now, I'd say, but kind of similar in that light. Are there any deeper take guys that you are personally just really excited about this season?
Excited is probably not the word I'd describe Julio Jones at this point in his career, but scooping up a lot of value with like the second best receiver of the 2010s, maybe the best. Like I will bet anyone almost any amount of money that he will be, once he signs, drafted higher than he is now. And like that's kind of all you can hope for. It's like in betting, like you're trying to make plus EV bets. A really good way to measure that is, are you getting closing line value? If you bet if you bet the game under 46.5 on Tuesday or whatever, and it ends up at 44.5, like you probably had a process that worked out. If you can do that again and again and again. And I think that's probably a pretty applicable mindset to do this with. If you are taking Julio Jones in the 17th round or whatever now, and he's going in the 13th round in a month, you've probably done something right if that was, the idea.
Any teams you'd like to see him land on?
The teams I think he'll land on are not the teams I am excited to see him land on. He seems very Baltimore Ravens-esque to me, a contender that really needs another receiver. But the thing is, I think it matters so little. I know Julio Jones wasn't particularly good last year. He was very hurt, and that's been a staple of his late career, is just unable to stay healthy. And, like we were saying, like plays through these injuries, man. Sit some games out. He actually doesn't play. He doesn't play through the injury. He starts a game and then he leaves 5 snaps later.
Yeah.
Don't play or do play. But please, God, don't do that.
Chill, bro.
And maybe it's just he used to be good and I can't get that out of my head. But I do think 17th or 18th round is just such a bargain for a player of his talent. I think he's still talented.
Yeah. Right. I think so too.
Where would I like to? Oh man, he'd be fun on the Chiefs. It would crush my Sky Moore shares, which I mean, financially it wouldn't be great, but like if he's got anything in the tank and he plays for Kansas City, that'd be pretty fun. Packers, he doesn't seem quite as he seems a little too splashy for the boring Midwestern Packers, but they just don't have very fun free agencies. But he's so cheap now, it shouldn't matter. It's not like they're gonna have to break the bank. I don't see them spending 3 years, $45 million on a receiver. He's not going to cost that anymore. He would have 2 years ago. So, I think of them as this boring organization. But at this point, Julio's kind of a boring sign. So he'd be perfect for them in the sense of their receivers are still probably trash.
I wonder if he'll just end up in Tennessee again. They're so needy for wide receiver.
Well, that's the argument for the Falcons, and there's also no way he goes back to the Falcons. But they have a terrible receiver room, and use a player like Julio Jones. But I doubt that happens.
Woods is your number one. Burks is out of shape. You're just getting there. You're like, Julio, please come back. And
you're the number one AFC seed coming back this year. Yeah. You're not in a rebuild year, even though I don't know, kind of.
Tennessee, Green Bay, obviously, as a Packers fan, I'd love to see him come here, but I agree with Kyle. They're like, no, we'll just get Sammy Watkins.
Yeah. We already got our Julio Jones.
We don't need him.
Oh my God. So you rounded out your last pick there, Kyle. I wanted to ask, while our show is then wrapping down in the last round of this best ball draft, about your overall take on the fantasy football world. This thing started out with hometown leagues, with people looking in the newspaper and writing down their scores. We've evolved into the multiple platform behemoth it is now, and it's from the hometown league now into DFS. We've got best ball. Gambling is blowing up, but people still like to sit down together and talk shit at their hometown leagues and all the stuff there. Where do you see the whole fantasy football world moving towards in the future?
Yeah, I think within 5 to 10 years, we'll probably sort of lose a bit of DFS because these sites, it's just so much more profitable for them to have sports betting than it is for DFS, and they get so much more action down the sites the operators. Oh. So I think we'll not lose it, but I think it's probably peaked. I think we're probably at the peak-ish. Maybe for some sports it's different. Obviously, I think the fantasy space is every sport. It's just a fantasy gambling space. So golf is really booming right now. So is MMA, are really interesting. I don't know why. I don't know enough about those sports as a cultural phenomenon to see why they're just getting these great prize pools, but good for them if you enjoy those. But I think we're probably at the peak of that. We'll probably just get absolutely inundated, as we kind of already are, with gambling stuff. But I love best ball, so I'm very happy that we've got like an incredible operator like Underdog, and then other sites trying. Drafters is smaller, but they do a great job too. DraftKings is in them and giving great contests, even though that site is garbage. It's just so incredibly bad. They just jammed a best ball product into a fantasy or in a DFS app, and it wasn't meant to work. But they're giving us great prizes, and they're actually like different prize levels, different sizes. So that part of it, I very much respect and am happy with. So I'm happy with where best ball is going, and still think there's room for growth there, because it is like an incredible product and concept. Even if you do the product poorly, it's a very good addictive. Like everyone knows, this isn't a novel take. Drafting is like infinitely the best part. I hate managing in-season leagues. It is miserable. I like my dynasty league.
You run a bunch of content out. Like, do you think that's why? And like you have to, like, it's the last thing you think about, because we had Sigmund Bloom on this week, and he was saying it's the last thing I do because of all the content I'm creating. So it would make sense to me.
Yeah. It for sure is the last thing on my mind and the last thing I do. I think even if I didn't do content, I still just like, I don't want to set my roster on Sunday, like especially like the way fantasy is broken up, where you have to be paying attention Thursday for whatever, like Thursday inactive and injuries, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for waivers. And those can change if you set your waivers Monday night after the games. We'll get injury news Tuesday, Wednesday. And then even throughout the week, if we get like a random surprising injury, you would be benefited by being logged on and ready to do it, ready to pick up the backup running back that just got jumped to number 1. So I love like my dynasty leagues, trading and fiddling with those, but just the day-to-day mundane of a season-long league is just dwarfed by how much better I feel about best ball. So, and I'm glad that the market is kind of matching that sentiment with like, what is the best ball mania? Is either 10 or 11 million in prizes? I think it's 10.
Yeah, I love that. You are absolutely right. The draft is the best part. It is the most, I mean, it's just such a ride, right? We all love draft. I love you walking away. It's just like, just give me the ring right now. This is the number 1 team. We all know that feeling, but we've got our draft now in the bag here. I know Travis has taken a look through some of the squads, but I definitely wanted to make sure we get Kyle's summary on how he thinks his whole team shook out, what he likes, what maybe he would have done differently. How are you feeling about your squad here, Kyle?
It's good. It is. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with that. I don't think I made any egregious choices. I just wasn't in a great position to draft the players I wanted at quarterback. I don't love having only 2 and one of the 2 being Mac Jones. You really do need like Trey Lance to immediately be super productive, which I like Trey Lance a lot. And I was talking about, I think he'll pretty much start every game barring injury or being truly awful. But like, I'd have felt better if that was like Jalen Hurts, even at his price. Not like I want to get every player cheap, but even at his price, I would have rather had a better quarterback. Now with hindsight, knowing that my second was going to be Mac Jones. So that's kind of the only leak on this team. Other than that, I feel pretty confident about every other decision I made.
Nice. Got a lot of really good wide receivers on this list. Went with 3 tight ends. I love the Njoku pickup too. I think I'm just gassing up all of these Cleveland Browns players. Amari Cooper, you heard me comment on David Njoku. I think he's in for a good year here too. So there you have it. Any other points on your best ball setup or any other tidbits that you'd like to let the audience know on best ball drafting?
No, I feel like we covered a lot, even in the context of doing a sit and go. We still talked about the tournaments a lot. So I feel like, you can reach out on Twitter if you have any questions or whatnot.
There we go. You can catch Kyle on his Twitter, as he just mentioned, at Kyle Tweets Here over on Twitter, as well as his writing he does for NBC Sports Edge. Kyle, is there anything else the audience should know about what you're working on or any other platforms they should be following you at?
No, that about does it. If you follow me on Twitter, everything I do, I can at least, I stem from my Twitter. Like I talk about, the trying to maximize the usage of that site for my own gain. So you can follow, if you follow me there, you'll see everything I do. Check out NBC because we have all of our team previews coming out. A lot of part. I have not put in a single ounce of work to that. We got to choose our schedule, and I was like, I'm going to do mine in July. I need all of June off. I'm leaving. So I've been like every single week, and I'm like leaving the house. I'm like, I'm not working. I'm working as little as possible and backloading my schedule. So all I can say is other people, and this is good. I don't like to talk about myself. Other people have done great work on the site. I will hope to match their work. My first preview comes out like in 5 days. So that's when I'll start.
All right. In 5 days, get ready for that, Whisper Nation. Travi, anything you'd like to let the people go with?
No, I just appreciate everybody that's been in here and everybody that Best Ball drafted with us. I know it was a little bit of a slow start, but we appreciate you guys. We're going to keep rocking through these as we get the guests on and doing it. And it's been a lot of fun to do it with everybody.
Yeah,
So
thanks for joining us, Mike, Pizza Belly, Johnny, of course. Good luck with Juniper, Taylor, Anthony, all of the round. Taylor, Cas Pajamas joining the show earlier on. Anthony, Donnie, Kyle. It was great to have everybody here with you. Kyle, thank you so much again for joining us today, showing us a thing or two on best ball drafting. It'll be fun to see how this one shakes out throughout the rest of the season. Whisper Nation, go ahead and follow him on Twitter. If you haven't liked and subscribed and you want to join a community where you know that you belong, go ahead and subscribe to the Fantasy Whispers on the YouTube channel or other social media like we're there too. On behalf of Big Travie, I'm Austin Sear. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out. Peace.
You stuck through the whole TFW live show. Congratulations. Big Travie couldn't even do that. Well, if you like what you saw, make sure you hit subscribe. If you want more videos from the Fantasy Whispers, make sure you hit one of these videos.